What if I told you that 50 Cent just dropped the biggest bombshell in hip-hop history, accusing Diddy of being behind Tupac's murder? This isn't a rumor, this came out in court, and the revelations are so explosive they could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the East Coast-West Coast War. In a jaw-dropping twist that has sent shockwaves through the music world, 50 Cent has made a claim that could forever alter the way hip-hop history is remembered. During Diddy's ongoing trial, the Queens-born rap mogul didn't mince words. He pointed the finger directly at Diddy, alleging that the Bad Boy Records founder was responsible for Tupac Shakur's murder. The accusation instantly reignited one of the longest-standing and most painful mysteries in hip-hop: the violent, unsolved killing of Tupac in 1996, a tragedy that marked the peak of the East Coast-West Coast feud and left an unhealed scar on the culture. For nearly 3 decades, speculation has swirled about who orchestrated Tupac's death and why. Conspiracy theories have run the gamut, from rival gangs to inside jobs to the involvement of industry heavyweights. Yet through it all, Diddy has consistently denied any connection to the murder. He has positioned himself as both an industry giant and a survivor of that violent era, someone who lost close friends in the feud, most notably Christopher, the notorious B.I.G. Wallace, who was himself killed less than a year after Tupac. But 50 Cent's bold statement cuts through those denials like a knife, placing Diddy squarely back under a spotlight he has fought for years to avoid. The weight of 50's words carries significance far beyond gossip or publicity stunts. This isn't just another rap beef or a round of social media trolling. This is a direct accusation about one of the most infamous murders in modern American history. Tupac was more than an artist. He was a cultural icon, an activist, and a voice for a generation. His death at just 25 years old wasn't just the loss of a musician. It was the silencing of a revolutionary figure whose influence stretched well beyond the recording studio. That's why, decades later, every new detail, rumor, or revelation about the case still commands global attention. What makes this development even more explosive is the history between 50 Cent and Diddy. Their relationship has always been marked by tension, distrust, and public jabs. 50 is known for his ruthless candor, rarely holding back when it comes to mocking or exposing his rivals. Over the years, he has taunted Diddy about everything from his business ventures to his personal life. But while most of those moments could be chalked up to hip-hop competitiveness, this latest claim feels different. It is not framed as a diss track or a meme. It is a statement made in the context of a federal trial, which gives it a gravity that few other accusations could carry. The timing is also critical. Diddy is currently facing a whirlwind of legal troubles, including allegations of abuse, intimidation, and violence. Each passing week seems to bring new testimony, leaked evidence, or disturbing claims from former associates. Against that backdrop, 50 Cent's words land like dynamite, further eroding whatever public defense Diddy might still cling to. For jurors, fans, and industry insiders alike, the claim that Diddy may have played a role in Tupac's murder adds a dark new layer to an already damning narrative. For the hip-hop community, the implications are staggering. Tupac's death has always symbolized the destructive extremes of the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, a feud that pitted artists, labels, and entire regions against one another. If Diddy, one of the central figures of East Coast rap, were proven to have had a hand in Tupac's killing, it would rewrite not only the story of the feud but also the legacy of two of the genre's biggest icons. It would suggest that the violence wasn't just driven by gangs or external forces, but potentially by those who stood the most to gain from power, control, and dominance in the industry. Even without concrete evidence, 50's accusation underscores how fragile Diddy's standing has become. Once celebrated as a visionary mogul who turned Bad Boy Records into an empire and helped shape the sound of modern hip-hop, he now finds his reputation unraveling in real time. And because of 50 Cent's enormous platform, both as a respected artist and as a media personality, his words can't be easily dismissed as rumor-mongering. Fans, journalists, and even investigators are now forced to revisit old questions with new urgency. What really happened in Las Vegas that September night in 1996? Who gave the order, and who benefited most from Tupac's silence? Ultimately, the power of 50 Cent's statement lies not only in the accusation itself, but in what it represents. It's a reminder that hip-hop's past is still very much alive, its ghosts still lingering, its wounds still raw. Tupac's murder remains unsolved, but with each new revelation, the pressure to uncover the truth grows stronger. And whether or not 50's claim is ever proven in court, the fact that it has resurfaced at this moment, during Diddy's trial and under such intense public scrutiny, guarantees that the legacy of both men will never be the same.
We saw Suge in the back of the House of Blues. Tupac was alive at the time. Tupac was in a white drop-top Rolls Royce. Suge was in a red one. We rose up to Pac. Puff tried to speak to Pac. He like, yo, what up, Pac? Pac looked at him and turned his head. Didn't say nothing to him, got right back on his phone. Riz said, yo, F him, speak to Suge. Suge is the boss. Puff said something to Suge. He said, yo, what up, Suge? He said, what's up? He said, yo, you think we got any problems out here? Suge said, I don't know no problems that y'all have. You think we good out here? He said, you should be. Suge just, I don't know any problems you got, bruh. And Pac was alive then.
Tupac hit us with Hit 'Em Up, and that joint was cold. I had to make the call to Biggie. I said, we not gonna respond. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Muffy trying to see me weak, hearts I rip. Biggie Smalls and Junior Mafia some more.
New court documents show that Heapy D. Davis accused Sean Diddy Combs of paying $1 million for the rap icon Tupac Shakur.
He rest in peace, Biggie.
This week's courtroom drama escalated sharply when 50 Cent's name was unexpectedly pulled into the testimony of Capricorn Clark, a former longtime employee of Diddy. Clark, who began her career as Diddy's personal assistant before rising to a leadership role in his Sean John clothing line, worked closely with him between 2004 and 2018. Taking the stand, she recounted harrowing experiences, alleging not only threats but also a shocking incident in which she claimed Diddy had kidnapped her in 2011. But what truly electrified the courtroom was her testimony linking these events to 50 Cent, a revelation that left everyone in stunned silence. According to Clark, life working under Diddy was marked by fear and exhaustion. She described a disturbing episode when jewelry from celebrity jeweler Jacob the Jeweler went missing and Diddy's security guard, known as Uncle Paulie, picked her up from her home and took her to a deserted building in New York. There, she said she was locked inside, subjected to lie detector tests, and told she would be thrown into the East River if she failed. Clark testified that the ordeal continued daily, leaving her petrified. Despite her role as a personal assistant earning her $65,000, she revealed she was running on only 2 to 4 hours of sleep while working endlessly. When she eventually raised concerns with HR about $80,000 in unpaid overtime, she claimed Diddy tore up the paperwork in front of her, denying her the compensation outright. Her testimony also tied into prior statements made by Kid Cudi. Clark recalled being present when Diddy, allegedly armed, forced her into a car before storming into Kid Cudi's home, where Cassie Ventura was also present. She testified that she warned Cassie about the intrusion, corroborating earlier claims from both Kid Cudi and Cassie themselves. According to Clark, Diddy threatened Kid Cudi's life that night, and the incident added to suspicions around the infamous car explosion Kid Cudi later linked to him. Clark went further, stating that after that night she confided in Harve Pierre, then president of Bad Boy Records, about what she had witnessed. She accused Diddy of kidnapping her at gunpoint, breaking into Kid Cudi's house, threatening to kill him, and assaulting Cassie Ventura, all within a single day. Not long after, she said she was fired. But her ties to the industry didn't end there. Before her years with Diddy, Clark had indirect connections to Suge Knight through a mutual acquaintance. Once Diddy discovered her link to his longtime rival, she alleged, the intimidation escalated. One night, she testified, Diddy and his security team dragged her to Central Park after dark, where he delivered a chilling warning meant to keep her silent, a moment she described as one of the most terrifying of her life.
Actually, on the first day of the job, she was taken to Central Park. And you might think, oh, we're going to go to Central Park. It's going to be great. But that's not really how she described her first day on the job. She said she went there with Sean Combs, Diddy, and she also went there with Paul Alford. Now, who is Paul Alford? He's actually the security guard that we've known about for a number of testimony, right? But she's actually talking about Uncle Paulie. And so she said that she was brought to Central Park with them. And then she kind of gets into why they would go to Central Park. And it was essentially to threaten Capricorn Clark. Why? Because she actually used to work with Death Row. And who was the CEO of Death Row? That is Suge Knight, one of Diddy's many arch nemesis. And so she said that she described her previous relationship with Suge Knight as he is actually the father of her best friend's children. So she does not have a personal, like, intimate relationship with Suge Knight necessarily, but she just knows of him and knows him a little bit closer, mainly because of her best friend, and that he is the father of her best friend's children. And so when she was taken to Central Park around this time, this being in 2004, she said that Diddy told her if she had anything to do with Suge Knight, then there was an objection raised in court. The defense obviously objecting to that statement, but the government continued to ask her about this alleged threat, and she being Capricorn Clark had explained that Diddy was relatively calm while delaying this kind of message to her. She said that during this kind of meetup at Central Park, or during this meeting, that Uncle Paulie said nothing. He was calm as well too. He was a little stoic from her description of it. And she said, as far as the response to the threat goes, she says, well, we'll just have to.
But Clark's testimony didn't stop there. She recounted a striking moment at an MTV press event where 50 Cent was also present. After the gathering, she ended up in an elevator with Diddy and music executive Chris Lighty, who at that time was caught in the difficult position of managing both Diddy and 50. Inside that cramped space, Clark said Diddy broke the silence with an ominous remark to Lighty. "I don't like all the back and forth. I like guns." The courtroom fell still as Clark explained the weight of those words. When asked directly who Diddy had been talking about, she confirmed it was 50 Cent. Of course, this wasn't the first sign of friction between the two rap moguls. Their tension has been simmering for decades. Back in 2006, 50 Cent dropped a diss track openly accusing Diddy of knowing the truth about the notorious B.I.G.'s death. He went so far as to call Diddy weak, suggesting he was hiding secrets tied to Biggie's 1997 murder, a case that, like Tupac's, remains one of hip-hop's most haunting, unsolved mysteries. Years later, former Bad Boy bodyguard Gene Deal would insist that the animosity between Diddy and 50 Cent had little to do with music. According to him, it wasn't about records or money. It was about women, adding another complicated layer to one of rap's most infamous rivalries.
Interview that Puffy did with Drink Champs, right? If I'm not mistaken, man, I haven't seen that interview in years, but I remember him making a comment saying that when Suge Knight got on stage and he made the comments about people dancing in the videos, he was actually talking about Jermaine Dupri, not him. Is that true?
Suge Knight ain't tell Puff no shit like that, and Puff ain't believe no shit like that, because right after Suge Knight made that statement, what did Puff do? He got on stage, because if a brick hit you, say ouch. He got on stage and spoke on it. You know, another executive come up here speaking on that. I love Dr. J. I love what they doing. I get Death Row. They props in the whole 9 yards. If he thought he was talking about Jermaine Dupri, why the fuck would he spin and say something right then and there? Why would he say something? He knew it was about him. That's why he got on stage and said what he said, bro. Didn't he say that right after what Suge Knight said? He got at the Source Awards and said what he said with Faith up there.
Yeah, you're right, man. That's a good point, man. After Suge Knight did say what he said on stage, Puffy, he did get on stage and he did address it, so
it was all bullshit. Oh, see, everything get changed years later. Everybody wanna write their exit or write their entrance the way they want to write it and not tell the truth. Tell the truth so these young kids can understand, so these young kids could not make the same mistakes that you made. But they're not going to do that because everybody want to be bigger than what they are.
So you have some people that say that Tupac, he was the one behind the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy. And you got some people that say that, you know, the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy started when Big J got killed. But from your point of view, When did the tension and beef start between Death Row and Bad Boy?
All the tension started between Puff and Suge Knight. You understand? All the tension came from Puff and Suge Knight. Suge wanted Puff to have Big them do a show. Puff wanted to get paid for Big doing the show. But Suge did a whole lot of shit, free shit for Puff at one time. Because when Puff used to come out to California, before he could afford security, before he could afford it, Suge used to look out for the cat. You understand what I'm saying? So now it became they bullshit. Then when Suge bought Misa out there, you understand? When Suge bought Misa out there and talk about what the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will, then Jake, Jake being by Jason, you understand? And they making that bull up.
Fast forward to today, and 50 Cent hasn't eased up one bit when it comes to needling Diddy. Last year, after Keith D was arrested in connection with Tupac's murder, 50 wasted no time throwing shade on social media. With his trademark sarcasm, he called Diddy brother love and quipped, "Time to lawyer up. It might get sticky." Diddy, for his part, has long downplayed the feud. In 2018, he even brushed it off with humor, insisting there was no real beef and joking that 50 secretly admired him. But 50 clearly wasn't convinced. Every time Diddy stumbles into controversy, 50 seems to be waiting in the wings, ready with a punchline. When federal agents raided Diddy's home earlier this year, 50 mocked him online, twisting the narrative with the caption, "Now it's not. Did he do it? It's, did he done?" And, of course, he managed to slip in a plug for his own clothing brand. After the explosive testimony that shook the courtroom this week, 50 doubled down again. He posted doctored photos of himself looking worried, cracked jokes about Diddy carrying a gun, and teased that maybe he'd just lay low at the playoff game tonight. The following evening, true to form, he appeared courtside at the Knicks game wearing a bold Free Diddy shirt. It was vintage 50 Cent, relentless, mocking, and perfectly timed. For years, he's made a sport out of trolling Diddy, but with Diddy's legal troubles now at their peak, 50 seems more determined than ever to turn up the heat.
Docu-series that you've been working on, Diddy Do It.
Right.
You've been saying for years that you feel you knew Diddy's character.
Right.
Yet you said you weren't a part of that lifestyle. You weren't going to the parties. So what makes you so absolutely sure that these kinds of allegations that we've seen against him are true?
Well, I'm surprised by the allegations, as surprised as everyone else is. Like, I didn't make the allegations. I didn't tell people to say these things. It comes out, I see it in the news like everyone else. But I did feel uncomfortable with the way you would present the idea of going to these projects.
To come party with me.
Yeah. And then that swayed me away from it. Just that alone.
So you didn't realize
as much stuff was coming. Like when I seen today, it was allegations of 3 men that said he drugged them, and it's a long time, to be honest with you. Like when people don't remember being violated for 20 years, it makes me feel a little hard.
What are your thoughts on the allegations against Jay-Z? That
was interesting. When I was saying things, not knowing exactly what I was saying, but I was going, where's Jay at? He's mad quiet. Like while the Puffy thing was going on. But it's obvious now that his team was being made aware that he was in those allegations.
The trial is far from over, with proceedings expected to stretch on for at least another month. But each new testimony seems to darken the horizon for Diddy. On Monday, the courtroom was riveted as a woman identified only as Jane took the stand. She described a harrowing encounter with Diddy that she said unfolded shortly after the infamous video of him assaulting his ex, Cassie, came to light. The weight of her words only added to the already mounting pressure in the room. With every revelation, the tension grows heavier, and the case against Diddy looks increasingly grim.
Because when you combine it with that she's on the stand, and remember, I'm in a main courtroom where she's testifying, she is talking so softly. She refuses to look up even at the person that is asking her the questions, and she is crying like every 5 minutes. So when you combine him talking so aggressively to her in these voicemails, like to us, it'd be like, no, you ain't talking to me like that. But to a person that the jury is seeing, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah, but they also heard that she started physical fights, smashed his head into a marble counter, punched him, threw wax and hot oil at him.
But
they heard that as well, so she's capable of that as well. And here's a guy saying, you saw me on social media with another woman. Let's not get crazy about this. I'm single.
Jane's testimony pulled the courtroom deeper into the chaos of Diddy's private life. She claimed that about a month after the assault video went public, a violent confrontation unfolded inside her Los Angeles home, a property she said Diddy himself had bought for her. According to her account, the two had been drinking when an argument erupted after she confronted him about allegedly seeing another woman during a family trip to Utah. What happened next stunned the court. In the middle of the heated exchange, Jane said that as Diddy bent down to tie his shoe, she lashed out, slamming his head against a marble countertop.
Love bracelet and told her that he would send her money at the end of the trip, and not just any money, not a couple like $50 or $100, maybe even $1,000. No, it was a lot of money. It was $10,000 that he said that he was going to send her at the end of the trip just to have it, just to have $10,000, which must be pretty nice for someone to send $10,000 just because. But during the trip, Jane said that she started to use some types of drugs, including ecstasy. She said she had taken it before, but that Diddy was the one who suggested it at various points during the trip, like 10 times, as she said, and said that he had opened his hand, a pill was there, and said, take this, it'll be more fun. And then she said her body began convulsing during this trip. She fell to the sand, and that Christina Coram and the butler had to put her in a lukewarm shower. And then she said every other day that while on this trip that they would take this ecstasy pill, I should say. And so it seemed like that was kind of the start of the relationship. One, drugs, but also a lot of money kind of being thrown at her just right at the beginning. But according to Jane, she was just head over heels during this.
So I don't hear, because then she talks about a change. She talks about a change in their sex life, right?
Yeah, she did. And she really started getting pretty emotional at this point, where you could hear her voice kind of shaking, as well as she started crying while she was on the witness stand. And this change in their relationship happened in May of 2021. And that was when Diddy started talking about fantasies at this point. Jane had said, he wanted me to talk about other men. Do you like what you see? Pretend it's here. And this is while the two were watching pornography together. She had explained that Diddy was the one who initiated the fantasy talks, and that around this time, Jane had been awake for 24 hours. She was doing drugs like that.
Jane's testimony grew even more unsettling as she described what happened after the altercation. She said Diddy remained unnervingly calm, taking a shower before telling her to ice her injuries and change clothes. According to her account, he then summoned a male escort to the house, warning her that he could take that away from her if she refused to participate. Her claims took on greater weight when prosecutors revealed a voicemail Diddy allegedly left on her phone, now made public. In it, he referred to what Jane called freak-offs as her job, telling her bluntly that he didn't have time for games. The message carried no direct threats, but the tone was commanding, with Diddy making it clear that she was expected to get on her job if she wanted to stay in his orbit. Meanwhile, Diddy's defense team is pushing back hard. His attorneys have already filed 2 motions for a mistrial, including a fresh request submitted over the weekend to Judge Arun Subramanian. This latest motion accuses witness Brianna Bongolan of lying under oath. Bongolan previously testified that, back in 2016, Diddy dangled her over a balcony at Cassie's apartment. Diddy's lawyers now argue that both Bongolan and Cassie gave misleading statements and that prosecutors improperly used those accounts to introduce evidence that never should have been admitted in court. Diddy's legal team has thrown every possible move at the wall in an effort to derail the trial. At one point, they pushed for dismissal after learning that fingerprint evidence had been destroyed following the car bombing at rapper Kid Cudi's home. The judge, however, swiftly rejected that request. If that weren't enough, Diddy himself has added to the mounting tension. Reports from inside the courtroom say he's been warned more than once about his behavior, with the judge threatening to have him removed after repeated attempts to sway both the jury and the bench.